It must be time for Beyond 2D because it's Tuesday. Hello, everybody, and welcome to season 3, episode 2.
Is it season 3 already?
Beyond 2, yes, Beyond 2D. I'm one of your hosts, Jessica Dugas, and this is my fabulous co-host.
Oh, thank you, Farron, Dozier, retired Army Sergeant First Class, and see you tomorrow.
No, we're not going to let him get away with that. We are in the midst of our first series of this season, which is all about LOVE love. And we know just by his mannerisms and the looks on his face,
who cares?
Just how he feels about these topics.
Who cares? New subject.
No, we're not doing a new subject. I love this topic. I love love. I love love. Yeah. So I'm glad that we're doing, and the truth of it is I really feel strongly that it's not a topic that is talked about a whole lot in depth, like and with different nuances that I think people get stuck on certain things, like we're going to talk about with you this evening, and they let that be their guide as opposed to having the hard conversation. So at any rate, last episode we talked about our personal definition / experiences with love, and we talked about it from a biblical perspective. Last week we talked about the different words that mean different types of love that Farron wanted to talk about from the Bible, and and this week we are talking about the language of love, and we're going to have a little conversation about love languages, and also ending the episode today having a conversation about how to start sometimes those difficult conversations, which will lead into our topic next week with challenges. So it'll be great. Nope. See, he's not getting sick, guys. He's not doing it because we're not doing that. Okay, so I have question right out, because I know that this is not necessarily your favorite topic, but it's odd to me, after all of these amazing things that we've talked about throughout 2 whole seasons, why it is such a pushback for you. And I find it funny, because I talked about this on the show before, that this was supposed to be our first ever topic and it didn't happen.
I was so happy.
But why the resistance, though? I want to start with that, because I think from an outside perspective, people might be going, well, if you're not comfortable with it, why the hell do you want to talk about it?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I was talking to my sister yesterday, and I have these moments in my mind that I don't deserve love. And so doing some self-examination most recently, the last week or so, I'm starting to discover where it came from, or where it's coming from. And so now I'm able to touch. So like I said, this conversation is perfect, because I've been dealing with this for a long time. I mean, not just I'm 54. So we're talking 40
See, and years. I go back to, we need to have a whole show about that, about how we don't believe that Farron is 54. But anyway, moving on.
So it goes way back, and I'm starting to peel off these layers, and I'm starting to discover that it's not just something that's recent. This has been this goes years back, and understanding that, and understanding how the brain operates, and the memories and the perceptions, all the brain patterns, I'm starting to realize, well, no wonder I feel like that, right? So I'm just starting to recognize it. It's not that I mean, of course, love is love. It's love. I mean, it's a great um, experience to report on how you feel
Yeah.
about someone. But if you don't have, for me, for myself, do I love myself? There's times that I don't feel like I love myself, and
Mm,
then I feel like I don't deserve it from another person.
right.
So, and I don't think
Mm,
people tell that truth. Like you said, there's some stuff that we got to really get to the root of,
yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
and I'm able to get to the root of mine. And my sister was like, "Why you say that?" And then she was like, "I can relate." So
Yeah.
myself, right? It's like, but to actually say that out loud to somebody,
Right.
like I needed to do that yesterday, and I could do that with my sister,
Mm,
and I needed to get that out of my thoughts.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not that I'm, and I grew up on a lot of music from my uncles in their eras of the late
Mm.
70s, and so there's a lot of songs about love and
Oh, there is.
I'm not your puppet, and like all these things that men use songs to express themselves, whether in
Mm,
good times or bad times, right? Or indifferent. So I have all those tracks in my
yeah.
mind, and then I made my own stories up about love and romance, and it's like, yeah, I'm not that guy. Like I'm not that guy.
Mm,
So to have a conversation like this is really good,
yeah.
because I'm healing. Like I said, we use our shows from real life conversations, and I'm
Right.
putting my life in these topics, and these are my truths.
Right. And I mean, and the truth of it is that we all have those different topics that we're like, this is uncomfortable, but we're gonna have them anyway. But I'm so proud of you for wanting to have the conversation anyway through the gritted teeth. Brittany's out there. She was like, "You better stop." You better stop. But I love the honesty because I, and the what you're expressing as your truth of not feeling deserving of or not sometimes not connecting with that self-love as well, those are real things for people. And you're not the only one that experiences those things. And it goes back to, I think, the heart of our entire love series here, which is about self-love. That's got to come somewhere in the equation
Yeah,
here,
first.
or we can't have this conversation,
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? So it's important. It's important. This episode tonight, we're talking about the language of love. And I wanted to, somewhere in our series, it was important to me to talk about the 5 love languages, not because it's my favorite thing on the planet, but because it is something that is widely talked about, not only in the realm of love, but in the realm of religion and spirituality. There are some people that rely on this teaching by Dr. Gary Chapman. So I wanted to start out with just a baseline really quickly here so you can understand a little bit of what we're talking about in case you've never heard of it before. So, Dr. Gary Chapman is an American author, speaker, and marriage counselor, best known for his book, The 5 Love Languages. He has a PhD in adult education from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. He has dedicated over 40 years to helping couples and families build lasting relationships. He's a relationship counselor and serves as the senior associate pastor at Calvary Baptist Church in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and hosts nationally syndicated radio programs focused on marriage and family topics. Published in 1992, so that was a minute ago now, which I don't even think I realized how long ago that book came out, but regardless, the 5 love languages introduces the concept that individuals express and experience love in 5 primary ways. Those ways are: number 1, words of affirmation, expressing affection through spoken words, praise, or appreciation; 2, quality time, giving someone undivided attention; 3, receiving gifts, showing love through thoughtful gifts; 4, acts of service, doing helpful things for the other person; and 5, physical touch, expressing love through physical contact. Dr. Chapman suggests that understanding a partner's primary love language can enhance communication and strengthen relationships. So that's the basis of what we're talking about when it comes to 5 love languages. It sounds like, I mean, I don't know him. And I don't, honestly, I've never listened to any of his shows, and I haven't read the book in its entirety. I've read parts of it, but it sounds like he has a good experience. It sounds like he's worked with a lot of people, and that he's versed in what he's talking about. So I wanted to start with that. And also I will say that Farron and I both took the quiz so that we could be best prepared to talk about this evening. Do you want to share, before we get into this, you want to share with the people what you got on the quiz?
Oh,
What's your primary love language?
sure. So what do I just say what it is?
Yeah.
You want the percentage too?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So my primary love language per that quiz that we took that I don't really, care for says that it is physical touch was 35%.
Mm. All right. So physical touch is 35%.
Yeah.
And mine was acts of service, 29%. And I believe, now I'm going to have to go back and hunt now, because I asked everybody in my house to take this little quiz. So I'm going to have to go
Did
back.
Everybody in here take the quiz?
Yeah. So if you know your primary love language, I want you to drop it in the chat. Okay. If you know your primary love language, drop it in the chat. If you've taken the quiz or anything else. If you haven't taken the quiz, you can actually do it while you're listening to us. Don't leave the show though. Don't leave the show. Stay here, but you can take it while we're talking. Take it. It's the number 5 lovelanguages.com. You can go take it there. But let me know. So I'm going to go back and scroll back. So obviously our love languages are very different. And I think a lot of times, sometimes when we're getting into relationships, we're looking for those commonalities, those things that we agree on, those things that we enjoy, those things that we come together on. And so I'm not sure if it would be helpful knowing out the gate, like, as I'm going into a relationship, well, he's physical touch and I'm acts of service. So I think my brain wants to go, well, that's just not going to work out. Like, okay, so initially, what does it mean to you? So I know that the test itself doesn't mean anything to you, but when you hear that your primary love language is physical touch, what does that mean to you?
I mean, to be honest, when I look at it and I look in my life, it is. I mean, it matches up to what I feel like when I'm in a relationship, or what I want from a relationship is that touch, is that, you just be near me.
Right.
You ain't even got to say nothing to me. Just knowing that you're in the house or in the room is enough, right?
Yeah.
But then I look at it, I don't want to go to the other side of that, but if I'm going to go to the other side of that, it's coming from a space of where my fractures are and my voids in my life. So it's a perfect alignment of why I want that and where it's missing from. And so it's like, it makes sense. It makes 100% sense. And like I said, I'm like, the more that I looked at it, it's like, well, no wonder it's physical touch. Right. So I wasn't surprised. But I don't want that to be like someone who says, oh, well, that means we're not compatible because yours is this and mine is this. Then it's like, well, then what the heck? Then it's like, we're gonna go by this questionnaire, or we're gonna try to have a conversation with each other.
Right.
That's the part that gets me.
So can you see, like, so I think about mine, acts of service, and it was interesting with mine because too, I think so many of mine were close in percentages. Like acts of service was 29, words of affirmation 26, quality time 23. So those are pretty, like, pretty close, which is typical for me because I'm so just not. I said this the other day. I've come to terms with the fact that I just don't process things as black and white. I never have. And I can see looking back that even me using never in that sentence makes me uncomfortable because because that's just when I look back, that's not how I've processed things before. And so I can see that I would be sort of torn. It's not surprising to me that those things would, but I was surprised that physical touch wasn't higher for me because I do enjoy that as well. I'm a hugger 100%. Like when I see you, we're that's it. Like so today, this morning, there's a kid that I went to school. I say a kid, he's not a kid anymore, obviously, none of us are. A guy I went to school with, that was selling something, and I wanted it. So I told him, I was like, I'm going to take my girls to dance so I can meet you. And I haven't seen him since graduation, like high school graduation. It's been that long. And so as soon as we saw, I'm like, oh, I give him a hug because that's just, I am a hugger. So I'm just surprised that the physical touch wasn't higher for me. And I had a realization about the gifts one though, because I thought it was so funny. So can I tell people what you showed me when the picture about the picture? Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Farron got 0% on receiving gifts, 0. Now mine was 10%. And I agree with it being at the bottom for me. Farron got 0 and then sent me a picture of a box of gifts that have never been opened. And I just thought that was the best thing in the whole world, because I think the reason why my gifts is low as well is with gifts for me, it depends. Like, I don't want a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not going to use. I like a gift. I appreciate a gift if it's something that like is something like, okay, prime example. Danielle, that is one of my long time friends, like since kindergarten, and she's also one of my co-hosts on Project Joy. It's become this thing now. For every holiday and birthday, she gives me another Care Bear mug because she knows I love Care Bears and I love mugs. And so it's this very heartfelt, thoughtful, this is who you are to me. I can tell this is something you love. It was like there's so much. But I think the reason I love it is because the process of her getting that gift that is so meaningful to me was an act of service. So that's why I think
it ties
that's
back
why,
up to that.
right. So that's why for me it goes back up there. Now, I bet that since your thing is physical touch, if someone gave you like a gift of I don't know if you ever did this growing up, but we used to make these little, like, I don't know, in like kindergarten, first grade, we used to make these little like coupon books for our parents or whatever, and it'd be like free hug or like I'll do the dishes or something. I bet if you had a whole coupon book of free hugs, that would be a good
it's crazy. But again, the physical touch is number 30 is 35%. The quality time is 32%.
Right.
And I feel now that you put it in those perspectives and that situation like that, and having 0% as gifts, the gift to me is your physical touch and your quality time.
Yes.
Like that is like, I don't, and I sent you that picture because those were just recent Christmas presents that I got. Right. And I have a closet right here where I'm sitting that has another stuff that has probably gifts from years ago that I haven't even opened or touched, or I just put away when it's. But the receiving the gifts, I don't know why it's 0 though. Like, just gifts are not important.
Yeah.
But it's also hard. So again, see, I could admit that discovering how Farron got to be was a very emotional child,
Mm.
very emotional child.
Yeah.
And so the gift giving is not important because it's hard for me to also give gifts in return.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I live for so long with this thing that my gifts aren't good enough.
Right.
My gifts aren't my gifts don't matter. My gifts aren't good enough. And so how could you want to receive gifts if you don't even have the the wherewithal or the desire to even give a gift because you're already afraid that that gift is not going to be what that person wants.
Right.
And it's going to
Right.
be like, oh, that's not what I was asking. Like, it's like, that's not what I wanted. Like, and I know we've all experienced something where you're getting a gift. They say, oh, it's a thought that counts. Bull crap. And if you do that to your child, or you do that to your children or your nephews or your grandchildren, and you
Hmm.
explode on a gift that they've given to you from their, whether it's a handprint that they made in kindergarten or whatever that is, like, we don't realize how our reactions on folks
Yeah.
could play a part in that. And so I do believe that my gift giving process was destroyed a long time ago again.
Mm.
So it's like, I don't even care. Like, you don't have to give me nothing for my birthday. I
Right.
wouldn't care if nobody gave me anything for Christmas. Like, I'm not even concerned about that. Like, that's not
Mm.
even. And then it's in return, it's hard for me to say, what am I gonna get you for Christmas?
Right.
What am I gonna get for Christmas? My ex-wife would just buy this. I'd give her the money and she'd pick the stuff
Mm.
because I didn't even want to put my thoughts in that process to
Mm.
have that feeling of that's not the gift that I want. Like, that's
Yeah.
why'd you buy me that? So
Yeah. It's interesting too because growing up for me, there were also rules that came along with gift giving.
mm.
Um, and my grandmother was the spokesperson for the importance of writing a thank you note. It doesn't matter what you receive, you write a thank you note. It doesn't matter if you are not grateful for it. It doesn't matter if what it isn't. If you receive a thank you note, you write a thank you note for the thank you note. Like it it was. And so
Wow.
I can remember though a time in my life when I didn't understand why the hell I had to do that. Like I appreciate it now 100%. I have received some, in fact, I've got, that's why I'm looking up on my little post pegboard here, but like there's I've received some thank you notes like from being on the show, some different things that I've gotten throughout the years that are really sweet and meaningful to me. So I do appreciate a thank you note, but I don't like the words have to attached to anything. That's so I think that could be something else with my gifts as well, because I don't want to feel like I have to.
Yeah.
And then there's that other question too of like reciprocation as well. Um which you can tie into any of these love languages really, but that could be a reason that one or the other falls low on your when you take the quiz, is because maybe there's some sort of have to attached to that. Like if maybe you're not a physical touch person because you feel like if somebody hugs you, you have to hug them back, or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
situation is, there could be
Mm-hmm.
that have to attach to it. So
Yeah.
anyway, I know we've got some new people watching here right now. I would love for you to head over to the comments. If you know your primary love language, please let us know in the comments what that is, or if you have any comments on what we're talking about, we would love to hear from you as well. So obviously there is a lot of people that supports the five love languages concept, and there are a lot of people who have criticized it throughout the years too. I want to touch on a couple of those things really quickly. So many individuals and practitioners find the love languages framework helpful for improving relational dynamics. Michelle Weiner Davis is a licensed clinical social worker at psychologytoday.com and notes that while recent studies question the empirical basis of the concept, her clinical experience indicates that many relationships are transformed when their partners understand and apply the main tenets of the book. Despite the popularity, some experts question the validity and whether or not it's even applicable.
That's
the
where
whole
I'm at.
theory.
I'm on that side. Let's
A
go
study.
there.
So let's talk about a study really quick. A study published in Current Directions in Psychological Science highlights a lack of support for the existence of 5 distinct love languages and suggests that successful relationships require a comprehensive understanding of the other's needs rather than relying solely on the love languages framework. Additionally, some psychologists argue that categorizing love into 5 distinct love languages may be overly simplistic, which is sort of how I lean, and not reflective of the complex ways individuals express and experience love. So we know what side you're on.
So let me finish my love language piece, because again, it really made sense. Like I said, I don't really care for this, but it actually made sense, and I was like, what the heck? Words of affirmation, 19%, and acts of service, 13%. And I could see why those are low, because I don't care for any of those two either.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you tell me you love me or you're nice, or I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Show me. I guess show me. That's the back goes back up to the quality time and back to the physical touch, maybe.
Right.
Acts of service. Oh my God. Yeah. You don't have to do nothing for me.
Yeah.
Nothing that I can't do for myself.
To me, acts of service and quality time are very similar in meaning in my mind, not necessarily with how the book puts it, but in my mind they're similar, because I guess I'm thinking, for me, that the time that someone spends to do something for you on your behalf, whatever, that's meaningful. So, but you don't have to be in the same room as me. Like, you don't have to, like, I love that you took the time to make me a cake, but I don't have to be in the kitchen while you're making it, if that makes sense. So I don't know if you've ever seen, have you seen the 5 love languages applied to tacos before? Have you ever seen
but I
that
probably would like that.
It's so
I like
famous,
tacos.
so hilarious. Okay, so the physical touch one is "Let me hold you like a taco."
Ooh. I like tacos a lot.
See, the acts of service is "I made you tacos."
I like tacos.
There it is. Quality time, "Let's go out for tacos together."
Let's go.
Let's go. See, any tacos would be fine. Receiving gifts, "Here's a taco."
Yes. Thank you for the tacos.
And words of affirmation, "Your tacos are delicious."
You're welcome.
See, it's this meme though that makes me go,
it's food. It's not a human being.
That's the other thing too. I have used this audio on a reel before, or on a story on Facebook with some food I made, and it's this guy's voice saying something like, "Forget all the other languages. My love language is food."
Food. I look at the acts of service again, and you know how some people say that they do stuff in order to get something from you. Like, I think that's what's corrupted. In order to, the manipulation. the
Right. It's
unspoken
similar to the have
expectation.
to. Yeah.
Right, similar to the have
Mm-hmm.
to, right? It's like, so that shows up for me. It's like people do this in order to get this. People do
Right.
this in order to's, and the unspoken, the unspoken expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was with someone one time, and she swore that her acts of service was help me wash dishes or help me walk the dog or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to though. It's like, why? Like, but it's not that to wash the dishes. It was to just, hey, you need some help, so they could say no. I got it. Like that's a game into me. That's like be
Right.
playing games, right?
Yeah.
And if we go to the part that you wanted to bring up next, for me, it's like I'm on the other side of this because a couple of things. Imagine if you're with someone and they're keeping score of your acts of service. They're
Mm.
keeping score. And some people do keep negative score, right? And
Yeah.
so for me, it's like I wouldn't want to use this chart for nothing in a relationship,
Mm.
because if I gotta be measured by this chart, then I'd rather be by myself.
Yeah, I don't so I will push back a little bit on that, only because um I don't think that that's the intention is not to use it as a, how many times or how many of these things, or as some kind of scorekeeper. It is a method. No, I need you to hear me. I need you to hear me on this. It is a method of, for me, how I would use it is a method to begin conversation. So that so for example, my husband took the test, and first of all, he did not follow directions. And I am convinced that my actual primary love language is somebody following directions, which I suppose falls into acts of service. But it really is. If I give someone a list and on that list is three things, and you do one out of the three things and then come at me with, oh, I didn't see the other two, you not reading is against my love language. Okay, so anyway, my husband only took the beginning part of the test, but it did come out with that his primary love language. His primary love language is quality time.
Mm.
And I see it,
But you don't see it.
but I also see something else that I wanted to bring up, which is sometimes I feel like there's a misalignment between our receiving love language and our giving love language. So, my husband's receiving love language is quality time. He loves to sit and play Call of Duty, and he wants me to just sit there next to him and listen to him cussing these people and everything else. He wants me to just sit there with him
Yes.
and have a great time. And I'm
Yes.
not having a good time. Not having a good time. But
Yes.
but on the other side of that, he doesn't necessarily, I don't see that a lot from him as giving. He is a gifts. You should see him at Christmas time. The man is just missing the big white beard. Okay. He really, like, I've seen him with the gift thing. And so I was surprised that that was top for him. And so with him taking the test, my point in all of this rambling, him taking this test, it started a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And where I could say to him, really, like, it means that much to you that I sit here and listen to
Yes.
you cussing while you're on the
I
Call of
can
Duty?
relate to that. Yes.
And
Yes.
and another conversation, like I said, about the difference between how we receive and how we give, and what the difference is and what that looks like. So it was a great conversation starter. I think that if we sit here and go, well, I don't like this because they're keeping score. If somebody's keeping score of this stuff, you have bigger problems than love languages.
But that could be an
Right.
identifier, right? And I say that only because the work that I've done to get to the place that I am today, there were some empirical conversations that we have
Yeah.
that would say I could, if if your emotional fracture is about gifts giving,
Mm.
then I could never give you enough gifts to fill that void. And so I'm
Right.
speaking from the void, from that void perspective,
Mm.
perception, that if I grew up in the space where I was I didn't get the gifts that I wanted from my parents or when I was a child, and now I want you to give me those gifts that I didn't
Right.
get. That's a fracture,
Right.
and that person could never give you enough gifts to fill that space unless you went and did the work to heal that emotional fracture of the gift
Right.
giving issue. And so, how do you determine, unless you have a conversation like you're saying with these topics of, hey, what is it? Where's that love language? Where's it coming from? And if it's coming
Right.
from a wound,
Mm.
then I need to know that, because I might not want to be a part of that conversation or read it with you,
Mm.
because if we recognize where it's coming from, then you got to take care of that. Because we had a conversation like, oh, my sister doesn't call me enough, or my friends, people don't call me enough. Well, guess what? They'll never call you enough
Mm.
because you're looking for that phone call
Right.
outs outside of you to fill the
Right.
empty space. And that's what I'm
Right.
saying. How do we have these talks about love when that person might be looking for that empty space to be filled by your gifts or your time or
Right.
your
So have
affirmations?
say you're at a beginning of a relationship, right? And you each take this quiz and your partner gets number one, or it doesn't even have to be your partner yet. Like, say you're
Right.
just like, maybe you had a couple dates, whatever. Your partner gets the top thing as gifts. Now you have the opportunity. You may not have known that that was their top thing. Now it's that you find out it's their top thing. So now you can go, okay, let's have a deeper conversation. Where do you think this comes from? Or tell me about these gifts you like. Just any kind of open-ended question. So now you can make a more educated decision if this is a person who's willing to visit that fracture, that wound, that thing that happened, then maybe it's something that you could work out. But if this person gives you these clear signs that they're going to be making a spreadsheet of all the gifts that you give them throughout their relationship, then maybe that's a
Yeah.
relationship you don't want to go deeper with.
Yeah.
So that's how it could work in that situation. I don't think it's something that 20 years into into a marriage, you're like, let's do the love languages and let me see how I can, make me feel bad for all the gifts I didn't give you or whatever else.
Right.
But I do think that it might be helpful. We have a brave soul in the
Yeah.
audience who, all right, Brittany got 30% words of affirmation,
All right, Brittany.
23% gifts.
Oh my
To
goodness.
to 20% acts of service, 17 quality time, 20% acts of service, 17, and physical touch, 10%. She said she's a little shocked. So what makes
Mm.
you shocked about that, Brittany? What are you surprised at? How are you feeling? Because I'm actually surprised
Her
about this
physical touch
myself.
was probably too low. She's like, that should be higher, probably. She's probably like, that should be higher.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm,
mean,
I don't know.
so tell me I don't want to say a word because I'm good friends with Brittany, so I don't want to say my thoughts about it because I would rather hear from Brittany.
Let us know,
um
Brittany.
the
Type it
gifts
in the
and
chat.
physical touch should be switched. She said she
Ah.
thinks physical touch should be 23% and gifts should be 10%.
Oh, okay.
That's what she thinks. And so it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's always, anytime I take a quiz like this, I'm always a little surprised because sometimes these little quizzes that you take, even the leadership one that I've done with Brett Gordon, who was just on the Breakthrough Show a couple episodes ago, um even that was really surprising for me because sometimes these quizzes that you take, the way that the questions are posed or something like that has the
Right.
potential to reach parts of you that maybe you didn't think to ask or something like that. But so it's always interesting to see that. And so Yeah,
I'm on the other side. I'm on the other side of it again still. Because at the end of the day, no, for real, at the end of the day, this is where I'm at today.
Okay.
Before we can have these love languages conversations and all these questionnaires and these studies, if you can't accept a person's natural love, I think that's most important. Because if I just, for me, it's like I don't want to have an opinion about your your acts of service. I don't want to have an opinion about your quality time. And I'm saying, love me for who Farron is. If it's not words of affirmation, if it is, if it's this, if it's that, I how can we just accept the person for just who they are first, and then get into these kind of conversations?
Right. But how do we know? So my question would be, if you don't know the questions to ask, if you don't, maybe you're not a person that puts things a certain way, or you have trouble finding your words or something like that. If you don't know questions to ask, if you don't know where to start when it comes to really truly getting to know someone at the heart of who they are, like things deep down and life experiences, all of that stuff, then my argument is that not even just 5 love languages, but some of these other things can be really telling and at least be a conversation starter when we may not know the questions to ask or have something to go off of. We might not even just have the the life experience of talking to someone that is very different from us, because a lot of us are in our own little bubbles and worlds of people just like us. So we might not know where to go with a person to figure out who they are, to have those deeper conversations.
Yeah, I just still believe that it causes, we're already judgmental, and I learned too that unfortunately love comes with a natural judgment. It does. It comes with a natural judgment attached to it. And at the same time, I just believe that I would want somebody to accept me for who I am, for how I wound up to be who I was, before you start telling me that I need to do this affirmation or this.
No, but that's not. I think you're twisting it, Farron.
Yeah, I'm twisting it because it is twisted. Because it's twisted. It is twisted.
You're twisting it because you keep going back to, from everything that I'm hearing, you keep going back to this scoreboard, this have to, this gonna keep track, this.
Yes.
I mean, and it's a very cynical perspective.
That's not cynical. That's my experience.
Right. So
that's my experience. So I'm saying, what does it matter?
Okay.
If what does it matter if I'm not telling you that I need physical touch all the time? Why would you come to me and be like, I need words of affirmation all the time? Like, I may not, like you said, I may not. Either you have to give me an opportunity to practice that, right?
Well, that's the point.
But initially, off the top, no. Like, you have to be able to accept people for who they are, who they're not.
Okay, so that's my point. If you love somebody, is it important to you that that person feels loved?
I don't think that I could make that person feel loved.
I'm not asking you if you can make them.
Right.
I'm asking if you love somebody. Okay, you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
You love your kids.
Of course.
Okay. Is it important to you that they feel loved?
I don't know how they feel loved, though.
I'm not asking you how they feel. I know. Loved.
So it's of course it's important.
Okay.
Of course it is.
So there it is. So that's all I'm getting at, is if
they tell me that, Dad, I don't feel loved, then I'm like, okay, what's going on? But we don't have conversations like, do you feel loved today? Do you like? We don't have those kind of talks.
This is a big word right here. Consideration.
Okay, maybe I have none.
Going back to on the next episode of Beyond 2D, we're gonna
talk about considerations, because I don't have none.
Consideration, I think, is
Wait, what's the
A
definition? Let me look
form
it up.
of
No, we're not gonna make it up.
what are we making up? What are you
No,
talking
I'm
about?
looking at the definition.
Oh. Okay, go read it to us.
Careful thought, typically over a period of time.
Hmm.
Payment or reward. Nothing to do with neither one of
Hmm.
those. Thoughtfulness.
Thoughtfulness.
Yeah. I'm a
So
thoughtful
to
person.
someone, okay. So to someone who isn't thoughtful, the love languages aren't going to mean anything anyway. It's not going to be they're just it's not going to matter what however how somebody else feels, whether or not they feel loved, is not going to matter to a person that's not thoughtful anyway. So again, I go back to we got bigger fish to fry. We got bigger problems over here than whatever. And it's not even necessarily a problem, but you do have to ask yourself if it's important to you that your partner is thoughtful and your partner is not thoughtful, or if it's important to you that your partner is considerate of how you enjoy feeling or experiencing love. Then you don't need to be with a partner who isn't considerate in that way.
Right. And I guess so I could be honest. It's like I said, I don't none of that stuff makes a difference to me.
Mm.
If I don't need a person to find out if I feel like I'm loved from them.
Mm.
I don't need the I guess and I have layers, and I maybe it's the military because I had to learn how to turn those emotions off, right? So I mean, like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on over here
Yeah.
of how I articulate what I'm trying to say I feel, right? But I don't look for that.
Mm.
I don't no I no one can make me again, it goes back to self-love. If I don't feel like I love Farron, you could tell me all day long with words of affirmation. You could buy me gifts all day long. You could sit next to me. If I don't feel that for myself, it's not cool for me to put that off on you to make me feel that way. And
Mm.
that's why I say we should first accept people for where they are in their love for themselves and how they express love. If you express
Mm.
love by buying me gifts, I'm not gonna say don't buy me gifts,
Right.
but I don't know what you expect for me to say. Like you said, do I have to say thank you? Are you
Mm.
expecting something from me because you're buying me something that I'm not really,
Mm.
not my thing?
So, with physical touch being your number one love language, would it be okay with you if you could you be in a long-term relationship with a person who physical touch was not part of who they are, and they don't really care if you feel it either?
Yeah, because the if the I still believe that the physical touch that I'm looking for
Mm.
is for me to give it, not for them to give it to me.
Mm. But what if could you be with someone that doesn't that they just don't like physical touch? That's not, I mean, they'll hug you or whatever, but they just
Of
that's not
course,
their thing.
of course. Like I said, I don't see that being a showstopper.
Mm.
I just I don't
I don't see it as necessarily a showstopper either. But I would.
because if I'm being considered, if I'm being thoughtful, I'm not
Mm.
putting again, I'm not putting my pressures of what my issue, what my if mine's is physical touch, I'm not sitting here waiting for you to come and touch me,
I think
sit
there's a
next to me.
difference though between an expectation that you have in a relationship and a preference or an enjoyment. I mean, imagine, okay, so what's a food you really love?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. Okay, so Ferran loves spaghetti. If you today you can't have any more spaghetti for the rest of your life, will your life end? No.
No.
No, not going to end. Are you going to be a little bit sad? Probably, because you love some spaghetti.
Eh,
You feel some kind of way. I mean, if you say you're not even
eh.
going to feel sad at all, then you don't love
I'm
spaghetti like that. Think of something else.
but that's my favorite food. But I'm
Right.
okay if I can't have it though.
You'll be okay,
Yeah, I'm not.
but you
Yes,
can't. I don't see how you could even contemplate. because it's so unrealistic to think like, okay, I'm never going to have spaghetti
If
again.
somebody said, "Hey, Farron, I'm gonna give you $10 million, but you can't have spaghetti for the next 5 years," cash me out, bro. Cash me out my 10 milli. Like, I'm cool. And again, like I said,
You're
we're
getting
all.
something for it though. There's no reward for Ron. You just can't have spaghetti.
I'm okay. I love tacos.
You're okay.
I'm not gonna be like, man, I can't have spaghetti today. No, my taste bud. I have a taste for spaghetti. Oh, I know. Like I'm not. I'm like I said. Everybody's wound up differently, and there's no
Okay.
wrong. There's no wrong
Y'all
answers
raise
to
your
our
hand
experience.
in the audience if you feel like Farron is not getting the point. Because he's
I
gonna
don't.
find
I
anything.
don't have to. I don't. And again, maybe again, I have a lot of hardwired training that I've
Ooh,
been through. I have a lot of hardwired
it
experiences,
goes
and
back to the deserving.
it goes back. And
Because if
I
you don't believe that you are deserving of having a relationship where your need of physical touch is met,
I'm
then there
cool.
it is.
I'm cool.
It's deserving.
Yeah.
What if you believed from this moment on that you are deserving of the things that bring you enjoyment
Like spaghetti?
and physical touch? And spaghetti
Yeah. Well,
and
that's
being fed spaghetti.
that's why we are here today at 3 o'clock on Beyond 2D, because I have to go beyond that
Mm,
two-dimensional perception of
mm,
and no lie, I go through life sometimes thinking like, even my dad before he passed, oh son, you deserve this, you deserve. I'm like, how do you
mm,
determine what you deserve? How does one determine in life of what you deserve?
mm. Is there anything about deserving in the Bible, Varun?
I don't know.
I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that with you. I'm gonna
I
let
don't
you
know.
marinate
Yeah.
on that. You can report back to me next
Yeah,
week
I'll
or
report back
whenever.
to you that we'll do some
Whenever.
investigation
Is there
spiritually.
anything? It doesn't even have to be the word deserving, but is there anything that makes you feel like this particularly in the Bible is about deserving? Just let me you marinate on it and we'll
Yeah,
report.
like I said, that word maybe, and maybe that's a word that I just
Mm,
block because it does nothing for me, or there's something attached to that of what I don't know.
mm,
But this is why we're here, and
yeah.
and and I do feel, like I said, my dad would tell me you deserve, and I question like, I hear people talk like that though. Oh, you deserve this and you deserve that. Well, who determines that?
Mm.
You telling me that I deserve that, or do I have to find that out for myself of what I deserve?
I think you have to determine that.
So then why do
But I
people tell
think
people what you deserve or not then?
well, I think we all have I think everybody has an opinion over what they think people deserve, but it's like it's very similar to love. You can say that you love a person all day long, but that's not going to make them love themselves.
Right. So
You can say
it's
a
an
person is
opinion.
deserving. In my mind, I feel like you are deserving of things that bring you enjoyment, aka physical touch and spaghetti. Okay. So I feel like you're deserving. Why do I feel like that? Because you're a human being.
Like I said, I get it, but
But me saying it's not going to
yeah,
make you feel like you're
me
deserving.
saying
You
like
have to
doesn't,
get to that
right.
space for yourself.
So
Yeah.
one has to do all that for themselves first
Hmm.
before I could request
Yeah.
physical touch from you, before I
Right.
could request words of affirmation. Like, I don't like. I'll say this. I don't like words of affirmation, even giving them, because sometimes I feel like I sound stupid,
Mm,
right? So it's
yeah.
like, why would I say that? Because I'm gonna sound stupid, or if I say something that's stupid, then the response from that person is gonna be, why you say that? I'm practicing trying to give you some
Mm,
affirmation words, and now you don't like that word. So and I talked to my sister. It was like, by the time, with my emotional frame of mind that I've had for all these years, when I go through the process of even wanting to give the affirmations, I go in my head and it's like, well, that's gonna sound stupid.
Mhm.
Then I feel what that feels like to sound stupid, and then I have a memory of when I said that or said something to that person that was stupid. Then it's like, well, then why bother?
Mhm. Yeah.
And then the relationship fails or does
Yeah.
what it does because I'm over here in my head with trying to figure out how to meet your love language,
Right.
and it's like I'd rather be by myself.
Right. One of the interesting things with this, and this conversation has been so great, you guys. We didn't even take a damn break. We didn't even take a break. Um, uh, so but I think so this is not the first time that I've taken this quiz before. I remember taking it several years ago, and I remember these not being the results. And I think
What?
the really
They were
interesting,
different?
yes, and I think that this is really interesting because when it comes to love languages, like you said, sometimes these things are coming from a place of fractures, of trauma, of whatever else. And so I think this is now not all quizzes work like this, but I do think that this is one of those quizzes that as you do that work on yourself, you can take it again and see a different result and go, oh, okay.
Another
So,
perspective.
and so for me, I do think that that's interesting because I think I remember quality of time being high. I don't remember the numbers being so close together. I remember a very clear top thing for me that was so far apart from the other ones, and now mine are really close. And how I've sort of processed that is that I've done so much work on myself and on how I have relationships with other people. And like you're talking about, being willing to give and receive in ways that may not always be my number one thing that I want or whatever in the moment.
Right.
Some of that I think denotes personal growth as well. And you can see the same thing in your results as well. So maybe in time, as we work on some of these different things, we'll see the numbers even close. Maybe it won't be 0% for gifts. Maybe
Maybe
it
it
won't
won't.
be,
Maybe
you
it
don't
won't.
know. So
Yeah.
I think it would be fun to, when we come back for season 10 to revisit to revisit these love languages. I know Brittany's like, it's been an hour already.
We've got to go beyond 5D for that one because I don't even know.
I didn't expect that it was gonna be this much focus on this, but I had one thing that I wanted to say specifically about my personal perspective of this is that as I said, it's a great starting point for discussions about how we can give and receive love. And but it's essential for me with anything like this to approach it as a tool rather than a rigid system. Like Farron was talking about, this isn't a scorecard. This isn't
Right.
I'm going to take this and see what else I can hold over my partner's head. That's not what this is about. I mean, I think for anything like this, you need to come into it with a pure heart and going like, I'm going to use this as a tool, as a starting point for deeper discussion with my partner. There's a concern that individuals might interpret these categories in a black or white manner, potentially overlooking nuances of personal expression. Moreover, emphasizing love languages should not replace the foundational practices of self-love first and open communication. Understanding one's own needs and effectively communicating them remains crucial for healthy and fulfilling relationships. Don't use it as like a this is it and then that's it.
No.
That's it.
I remember growing up and my mom would tell my grandmother that I was an affectionate child.
Mm.
I remember that distinctively. That was a word that my mom would use. Ron is affectionate. He's affectionate.
Mm.
So it's been like that for a while.
Yeah.
And my freedom is being free from that. That's why I advocate for loving people for who they are and who they're not. Because my opinion, if as soon as I put my opinion up against you of who you're not, then I lose that human connection that you're talking about. I'm a human being, of course.
Mm,
But I just believe that our opinions, when it comes up against other people, when we have our opinions, that's what fractures the disconnection. That's what allows us to treat people funky,
mm,
right? And or even want to keep score, a negative score, because the
yeah.
brain is always going to look. The mind is going to look for the lack always, because it wants to survive life. So if I'm surviving this relationship, I'm looking for the lack,
Mm,
and but the lack could be over there where you are.
mm,
The relationship could be fine for the other person, but here you come with your lack, and without having a conversation, like you're saying, then if I start behaving with the lack of, what is that going to do to the relationship?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do believe for us as men, fellas, I was hoping y'all chimed in with me today, but whatever.
I will say there's a lot of people in and out of this live today who are not saying a word.
All right, so
Our
I I
word. We see
I
y'all
do
there.
believe. I will say this, fellas, and this is where I'm at today as a dad,
Mm,
as a grandfather, as men. We definitely have to get in touch with these love languages
mm,
for ourselves, so that you can articulate these, do the work around them, so that when you do find that person, these are the conversations you have to have before you have sex, before you start doing these relationship things. Because I've heard a lot of guys see the red flags, and then we just, oh, I'll do it. Oh, I could deal with that later. And then now that red flag pops up again, as we describe them, and then now you're 2, 3, 4, 5 years into it, and now you want to figure out why you act like that.
mm.
So I believe that there's definitely something for men, because we are the foundation for the family, that we need to have these kind of talks, these hard talks, to find out what's going on with you before you bring some other woman into that space, so that you can have the intelligence in the conversation and guide that, because you've done your part. And I truly believe that that's, I'm not saying that it's just the men's fault,
Mm.
but we are the foundation of that family. If you believe that you're the foundation of that family, you've got to be the one to take that responsibility and figure out what's going on with yourself first, so that you can articulate that with that other person.
And us ladies have the opportunity to be leaders in our own right, and create the space for safety for our partners, whoever they are, to explore these things, and not use it. It can be easy to do a lot of things and be a lot of ways when we're feeling some kind of way about things, when we're
Exactly.
mad. And don't wait until 20 years in your marriage. If your words of affirmation and you're 20 years into your marriage and you've never had a conversation with your
Felt that?
husband about
Yeah.
how much you love to be told, that you're beautiful today, or that you did a great job, or that dinner was wonderful, if you've never heard those words and you've waited 20 years, like,
Mm.
you can't just expect and walk around bitter, and you've never tried to even have the conversation. Next episode, we're going to be talking about some of the challenges within love. We're going to get real fun. Next episode, we're going to be talking about some of the challenges within love and relationships and things like that. And I had these things written down because I was hoping to touch on them before next week, but it's going to be next week. So, but there's wanted to talk specifically about how we create the space for these tough conversations when it comes to love.
Mm.
One, starting with self-reflection. Two, creating a safe space for discussion. Three, using I statements, not you statements. Well, you
Well, that's
suck.
what you said. You said you was gonna tell me you love me every day.
That's it. We were supposed to go on a long walk on the beach, and you only took me for 5 minutes.
How many
Okay.
times I gotta tell you I love you every day? You need 10 times so I could track her.
All right. So that was number 3. Use I statements, not you statements. Number 4, validate and acknowledge their perspective. Number
Mm.
5, normalize that love looks different for everyone.
That's all I'm
Number
saying.
6,
That's
ask
number one.
open-ended questions to go deeper. Not do you like, yes or no, like deeper questions. And number 7,
I can go for yes or no right now.
no. Number 7, prepare for discomfort, but don't avoid it.
See, that's rejection. Ooh, see, that's all of those things that come along with the emotional
Mm.
outside of that. And what you said for the ladies and for the fellas too, um, confidence, courage, compassion, like those are ways of being that allows that space to have these kind of talk. It takes courage to find out. You might hear something that you don't want to hear from your partner.
Mm. Oh yeah.
Like, so that's part of the next episode. But it takes courage. It takes, you got to have the willingness to even want to, like she said, I don't even want to explore the deserving. Like, I'm not
We're
even
gonna
want to,
go there, guys. It's
I
gonna
don't
be
even want to
so good.
explore that. I'm cool.
I love it. Can we get your sister on the show? Can we have your sister come on the show? You need to ask her if she'll come on the show.
Oh, I don't know.
Come on, because we need to have a gang up on Farron episode.
Oh, nuts. That's it. See that? Nope, for sure.
I'm just kidding. I think you're deserving of an episode where you have your co-host that loves you, your sister that loves you. It'd be great.
She might not want to go public just yet.
I don't want to tell people that I love my brother because God.
We talked for 3 hours yesterday, though. We had a good
great
discussion because I felt some type of way yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
what's your sister's name? Remind me, what's your sister's name?
Jasmine.
Jasmine. How are you? we want you to come on. Okay, I'm just going to take we right out. I want you to come on Beyond 2D and come and join us on the show because I would appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much. It's a call to action here.
See. Anyways.
All right. So
I'm gonna figure out what I deserve. That's my mission for this series. Yeah, that's something because
now don't ever tell yourself you deserve to create boundaries because you might implode.
I don't know. I might. I have to go research the biblical principles about what I deserve. Besides, I don't deserve God's love, but He gives it to me.
So,
there we go.
Okay.
So, there we go.
I can't breathe. Okay, guys. Join us in next episode, which is happening on Tuesday, March 11th. Same time, same place. Come join us because we're going to be talking about unmasking love's challenges. We're going to be doing Beyond 2D version of the show, The Mask. I got too many masks. Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Thank you, Farron, for joining me for this enlightening conversation.
Thank you for orchestrating this conversation.
We love you all so much. All the love. All right. I'm Jessica Dugas. This is Farron Dozier. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks for episode 3, season 3 of Beyond 2D.
That's my little rascals. That's my 5-year-old. I love you at 5 years old.
Bye.
I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart. I shall stand for love, for the world is wounded, not just my little piece of land, where I am mostly safe, where I am mostly well, but our world, everywhere, every day. I shall stand for love, because we need more light, not more death, not more power, not more bombs. I shall stand for love, so that our children are safe, so that our friends are sheltered, so that our borders are open. I shall stand for love, even with a broken soul, even with a heavy heart.